Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 5:23 a.m. East Coast time. It is Monday, August 12th. Monday, by far the best day of the week. Start the week off right. Get ahead of everybody else at your workplace. Get ahead of everybody else in whatever industry you're working on as a business owner yourself. I'm excited. New week. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Sal Vetri. We do cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL. 5-game slate starts Thursday. Games the rest of the week after that. Cannot wait. WNBA. Believe there's no game tonight. Have to double check. No game tonight. MLB, short 8-game slate. I love the 8-game slate size. I think there's a lot of ways to get leverage. I just like the overall creating content for an 8-game slate. It's a little bit less overall for myself. It's a little bit easier to digest everything when we're breaking down into it. So excited about that. Appreciate you being here. Before we get into it, a couple housekeeping things. The NFL Daily Fantasy course, I will continue to promote it. I created it about 3 days ago. It released. We now have double-digit people in there. Very excited. Two people gave me feedback yesterday. Seem to like it so far. Very excited about that. You can get that link down below. You can check it out. You can go there. You can see everything that's in it instead of me talking about what's in it. Also down below is Patreon. By 5:30 p.m. every single day, if the games start at 7, at least an hour and a half to 2 hours before lock, I will ensure that there will be a podcast and or article out for the MLB slate. That pretty much gives you, these are my initial thoughts. That's going to give you exactly what I'm thinking for the slate, exactly if I'm playing, and usually I am, what I'm doing for that slate, not holding anything back. Pretty much telling you how I'm approaching every single thing in the slate. That is linked down below. There are 2 free strategy guides linked down below. One for overall football strategy, but really it encompasses DFS in general, just using football stats. One for the NBA. So check that out. The overall one for football will actually generate towards baseball too. So check that out. If you hit the subscribe button, we plowed through 6,000 subscribers, approaching 6,100. So excited. So if you are new here, you get any value from this video, hit that button. Check out all the things down below in the description. There's a free Discord community. Whatever you got, reach out to me on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. All the plugs are out of the way. Or I guess I will say, I will be doing an NFL video Thursday morning, so it'll be very relevant, but I'll also be doing an NFL video tomorrow morning. But every single day on Patreon for the NFL package, I've been updating notes. Yesterday, I put in 30 bullet points, 30 tips and stuff on what the main notes were out of camp yesterday. I'll be doing the same thing for today, and then tomorrow I'll be getting an initial first look at Thursday based on the information we have, and then Thursday morning I'll be doing an NFL video as well as covering the slate on Patreon in terms of which positions I'm looking at, so you can get all that link down below. Let's get into it now. So this is one of the most disgusting slates we've seen all year. So keep in mind it's 5:30, so 13 and a half hours till lock for me. But also keep in mind that it's 5:30 and I don't have 100% news on some situations. Really just one situation, I guess 2. Baltimore and New York are in a doubleheader. So for Baltimore, I don't know the exact probable long reliever today. They are going with an opener. Apparently, Ty Blash is supposed to be pitching at some point. They called him up from AAA. I don't know if he's going to be the opener yet. I don't know if he's the probable long reliever. Some sites are showing me Tom Eshelman is going to be the starter. So just keep that in mind. I'm not totally sure what it is. But to be honest with you, I don't really have much interest since they're going up against the Yankees, even if it is in the second game where I imagine a couple of guys sit, they run out a different lineup. Also, Chad Green's going to open that second game on the Yankees side. No probable long reliever put in yet. Cortez Jr., if he ends up being the probable long reliever, he pitched 3 days ago. He threw like 35 pitches, so I don't expect him to go anywhere deep into the games. So pretty much what I'm trying to tell you is I don't know what those are going to be. They'll probably come out, since I'm up so early, they'll probably come out by 10 to noon, somewhere around there. But anyways, it doesn't matter because I don't have any interest in any of those random Yankee pitchers that you're probably not going to get a stable pitcher in terms of who they tell us is a probable long reliever. And then for the Baltimore, if it's Tom Eshelman, if it's Ty Blash, I don't want to pitch any of them against the Yankees. It would increase my exposure to the Yankees bats, if anything. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, outside of that, it's a disgusting slate at pitcher. Really, really bad slate at pitcher. We'll go through it. As of right now, I have 4 to maybe 5 interests. And out of those 4 to 5, I feel like I'm really stretching just to get to 4 or 5 interests early on because there's not much here, and you're about to see that. Again, later today, an hour and a half to 2 hours before lock, I will produce and release a Patreon exclusive podcast, usually around 20 minutes, telling you exactly what I recommend, exactly what I'll be doing for the slate, specific player names, all that type of stuff. So starting off with Zach Greinke up top, $10,700, by far the best player in the slate. He's the biggest favorite as of now. I imagine he will remain the biggest favorite. $290, best player in the slate in terms of pitchers. Houston is number 3 starter. Crazy to say that, as he would be a number 1 on maybe 24 other teams. So he goes 6 1/3 innings pitched per start, by far the biggest by 2 outs. The next closest is Eduardo Rodriguez. He goes 5.84 innings pitched per start. So he's going on average 2 outs deeper than any other pitcher on the slate. That's really impressive. He has a 3.99 SIERA. If you take out Chad Green as a pitcher opener and pretty much a reliever, which it's a lot easier to lower your SIERA there because you can deceive batters because you only have to face them one time, then yeah, Zach Greinke has the best overall SIERA on the slate at 3.99. He has a 3.9% walk percentage. Yeah, that's the best. He has a .95 home runs per 9. That's second best, only behind Mitch Keller. 25% strikeout rate against righties. That's the fourth best on the slate. Third best if you count and take out all these pitcher openers. So you're getting a very good pitcher. He doesn't strike out lefties. That's a problem. 21.5%, one of the lower ones on the slate. He'll face a John Jay from the left side of the plate today, most likely against the White Sox. Then he'll face 3 switch hitters who will probably bat from the right side of the plate today, if I had to imagine. Potentially. It depends on which side of the plate these switch hitters want to prefer. I'm not positive what their preference is out of those White Sox switch hitters. Again, there's going to probably be 3 of them. The reason that I'm not positive which way they'll want to bat from is because he only gives up a 136 ISO to lefties, a 149 ISO to righties. Regardless, that's a low number, but he does give up at least a little bit more power to righties, so maybe those batters will go from that side of the plate, although he does strike out 3.5% more righties than lefties. So keep an eye on that. It's not a really big deal. Overall, the Chicago White Sox lineup strikes out 26.3% of the time. That is the second highest on the slate since the beginning of the summer, only behind your Texas Rangers, who remain and continue to be the worst strikeout team since the beginning of June. Got a hair flying around here. So, yeah, this team has no power against righties, below a 130 ISO. I'm going to update that today. I haven't updated that in about 2 days, but no power against righties since the start of June. 145 ISO since the start of the season is the worst on the slate. And yeah, they have an overall 26% strikeout rate on the season, 26.3 since the start of June versus righties. He's the best pitcher on the slate. Even if he, like, this is the thing, he's $10,700. Eduardo Rodriguez is facing Cleveland, who's been an absolute dynamite team. 228 ISO since the start of June versus righties, but Eduardo Rodriguez is a lefty, but still 192 ISO versus them. The real kicker is they only strike out 18% of the time, second lowest on the slate versus lefties. Erod is a lefty who kind of makes his money on being a meh pitcher, an okay pitcher that at least has some strikeout stuff, 23.9%. Most likely going to lower that today, and he gives up a ton of power to lefties. You're going to have a ton of power in this lineup for the Indians. You're going to have Jason Kipnis. You're going to have most likely Lindor batting from the left side of the plate, Santana batting from the left side of the plate, Mercado's batting from the left side. All these guys. So Eduardo Rodriguez is only $400 less, or he is only $4 less than Greinke. It's not even like you have a good pivot option. Greinke, I imagine, becomes chalky today. But for $400 more, it's just affordable. He's not $11,800. He's $10,700. He's appropriately priced, especially for the slate. He's probably underpriced. I'd pay over $11,000 for him today because of the matchup, because he's just the most talented pitcher on the slate, in my opinion. And the guys around him don't have the greatest of matchups, or at least Rodriguez doesn't have the greatest of matchups. So Greinke's my number one interest today. And when I say number one, my first interest that I'm going to list, he's not my number one overall play. I haven't kind of broken down into that just yet. Second guy I'm interested in is Joey Lucchesi. So another guy, he's $10,000 flat. I think he's overpriced today, but I think the nature of the slate kind of makes it fine. It stinks because you really can't pair him and Greinke unless you want to spend $20,700. I guess you can actually, but you're going to have to find some really cheap stacks at that point. And I'm not sure the upside is really there for wanting to pay $10,000 for Lucchesi today, but I kind of have to give you this option that I do think he is interesting, and I do think he's in a nice spot. Tampa Bay does strike out 24.3% of the time versus lefties since the start of June, Lucchesi being a lefty who strikes out 24% of batters overall. He also has a nice split against lefty batters, a 25.2% strikeout rate against lefties. You know Tampa Bay's going to run out on Nate Lau still. You know they're going to run out on Austin Meadows. He didn't play yesterday, Meadows, but I imagine he's back on the in the lineup today. That's 2 lefties right there. There's about 4 to 5 lefties in this lineup. Kiermaier, just trying to think about more. Jimin Chow. I don't know if he's on the injury list. I actually don't know if he came off of that. So yeah, there's going to be 4 to 5 lefties in this lineup today. Lucchesi does strike them out more so than he does righties, 25.2% compared to 22.9%. And the overall lefty on lefty matchups do benefit as this Tampa team against lefties, their ISO is only 179. That's average. Their strikeout rate's above average, 25.3. Lucchesi does go 5.55 innings pitched per start. That is the 4th best on the slate. It is behind Rodriguez. It is behind Greinke. It's behind also Merrill Kelly, who's a lot cheaper. We'll get to that. But $10,000 for him. There's a lot of things to like. He only gives up 1.18 home runs per 9, one of the lower ones on the slate. 35% hard hit percentage is good to see. Anything 35 or below is nice. 30 or below is elite. 47.5% ground ball rate. We know anytime that number approaches 50, that's good to look at. If you take out some of these pitcher openers, his ground ball rate is the 3rd best on the slate. If you take out all the pitcher openers and all the probable long relievers, including a man named Austin Pruitt at the bottom, his ground ball rate is the 2nd best on the slate, only behind Eric Feet. So yes, as of right now, as I sit here at what is it now? 5:33 in the morning. I do prefer Zach Greinke by a wide margin for $700 less. Obviously, ownership comes into play. If Zach Greinke is 35% owned, 40% owned on an 8-game slate, and Joey Lucchesi is like 5% owned, well, yeah, there's going to have to be a conversation around pivoting away. But if Zach Greinke is 30% owned and Lucchesi's 22, I'm not pivoting away. So I think I'm going to be getting to more Greinke as of now, but I'll reflect on that later on. Third interest today is Merrill Kelly. Look, you're saying, oh, Sal, you dropped from 10,000 to 7,400. None of those pitchers in between pop out to you. 16 pitchers on the slate. You just skipped over 5 of them, a third of them. Yeah, I did, because Anthony Descalfani against Washington does not seem attractive to me, especially not at $9,600. That man is overpriced ridiculously. Same thing for Zach Plesac, overpriced ridiculously. Who the hell today is going to pay $9,400 for Zach Plesac's 5.2 Sierra? If you take out, again, all these Pablo long relievers, that's the second highest on the slate. His 5.2 Sierra. He is the luckiest pitcher on the slate when you factor in his 3.13 ERA. It looks like he's the second best pitcher behind Greinke on the slate. It's not even close. He's not even close to that. He's the second worst pitcher when you factor in Sierra. He's one of the luckiest pitchers on the slate. Walks 9% of batters. Gives up power to righties, which you're going to have loads of power of righties, right? Powerful righties in this lineup, right? Bogarts, JD. Mookie Betts, as long as he's back in there, Vasquez, it's a dangerous spot. He only strikes out overall 18.5% of batters. This Boston team versus righty since the start of June only strikes out 21.8% of the time. They have a 205 ISO. Their 205 ISO is the 6th highest on the slate, pretty much tied for the 5th highest. Or 4th highest. And yeah, so Zach Plesac 9,400. I'm not getting there. Dylan Cease 9,100 against Houston. Yeah, I'll try again another time. He's a 245 underdog today. Houston, I don't even have to get into it to tell you that Houston's really good. 19.3 strikeout rate against righty since the start of June. 204 ISO. This guy Dylan Cease is going to come out here and have a 27.4% strikeout rate, which is going to attract some people, not me. Strikes out 15.6% of lefties. 27.4% of righties is actually elite. That's the highest strikeout rate versus righties on the entire slate, which is crazy to actually think about. Again, not really going to be getting to it though, because you're facing Houston. I don't care. You're 9,100. You're facing Houston. If you were 70 something, 72, 7,000 flat, now it's worth the risk. But if I'm paying for you, I'm really stretching myself. $19,800 to pay for Dylan Cease and Zach Greinke, and having Dylan Cease out there as a very huge liability. Now, if he's unowned, maybe there's a chance that you throw a dart at him against Houston and hope he can just shut the door down. I'm probably not going to do that, especially since they're playing in a ballpark in Chicago today that's going to play more hitter-friendly than anything. Not going to get there. Mitch Keller against the Angels. I really don't pitch any pitchers against the Angels. Maybe that's a bad rule of mine, but I definitely don't pitch Mitch Keller against the Angels. 8,400. LA only strikes out since the start of June against right-handed pitching 22% of the time, 18.5% of the time in the season. They have 204 ISO. Mitch Keller doesn't strike out righties 22%. He strikes out lefties 30% of the time, which is actually a pretty good number. Again, really, really small sample size we're actually working with here. Ground ball rate, the worst on the slate. Not really going to be getting there. He does limit home runs, a really, really small sample here, or smaller sample here. Yeah, so I'm not going to be getting Mitch Keller at 8,400. Again, these price tags on all of these guys that I've just named are ridiculous. 9,400 for Zach Plesac is blowing my mind right now. Jose Suarez against Pittsburgh, no. You might have thought that I would, but no. Pittsburgh is built on lefty power. He does strike out lefties 28.8% of the time. He's also look, I get it. All the players, 45% of people yesterday were playing Mike Folty. I didn't get it. I understand that he's in the winning lineup because he scored like 15 fantasy points. I still don't get it. He was probably the worst pitcher on the slate, to be honest with you, top and bottom 3 pitcher on the slate. I think that Jose Suarez today, outside of like a Peter Lambert and not counting any of these probable long relievers because they're not starters, I think he is the worst starter on the slate. Jose Suarez, him or Zach Plesac, and Zach Plesac is the price is the 5th best, which is just crazy to me. But Jose Suarez gives up 2.72 home runs per 9, loads of power, 211 ISO to the left side, 287 ISO to the right side. So much power, and I don't care that he strikes out 28.8% of lefties. This team overall against lefty pitching has only struck out 22% of the time, and they only strike out 20.2% of the time of the year. This Pittsburgh team is not a strikeout team. If indeed Jose Suarez does get a couple of strikeouts, he's just so susceptible to home runs. 2.72 is the highest on the slate, factoring out all these pitcher openers and guys who are going to go out there for 1 to 3 innings. So I don't know how you feel comfortable playing him at 7,900. I understand he's a favorite. I understand he does strike out lefties. He does nothing else right. So if those are the 2 stats that you're keying in on to sell yourself, you're really putting on the blinders to everything else that he does wrong and all the other damage that he gives up and the fact that he can't even get into the 5th inning more times than not. My third interest, now that we got through all that garbage above him, is Merrill Kelly at 7,400. Merrill Kelly does go 5.7 innings pitched per start. That's impressive. That's the 3rd best on the slate, and he's only priced as, I'm looking really quickly, I think the 9th most expensive pitcher. So third best depth into games. The guy does a lot of things decently, does a lot of things not great. He gives up a 6.1% walk percentage. That's okay. Relative to this slate, his Sierra at 5.79 would be something I'd run away from. But again, relative to this slate and the fact that we don't have that many true starters, realistically, not counting the long relievers, we have actually today 12 real starting pitchers, so it's a 6-game slate instead of an 8. Again, some of the probable long relievers are in play, but the fact that Kelly is just going to have that depth and more opportunities today stands out to me. I think he is underpriced. I think he's the only guy out of those guys above him that is appropriately priced. $7,400 for Merrill Kelly makes sense. I don't understand how Mitch Keller's 84, Cease is 91, Plesac's 94. I don't know why Merrill Kelly's not 87 if this is the way that they're going to price all the other guys. But I'm happy he's not. He's not a great strikeout pitcher. Only 18.5% of the time he strikes guys out. 161 ISO to lefties, 216 ISO to righties on the year. So he does give up power, indicated by a 1.51 home runs per 9. This Colorado team against righties, though, they're average. 174 since the start of June in terms of their ISO, strike out 23.1% of the time. Those numbers are average. So you're getting an average opponent against what I would call an average pitcher to average to bad pitcher in Merrill Kelly. The only reason that I am liking him is really the context of the slate. Everything I just told you about the guys above him, I don't want any of those guys except for Zach Greinke, maybe Joey Lucchesi, but they're in a totally different pricing tier. Merrill Kelly falls in this weird in-between range where he's the only mid-range option that I think is viable today due to the matchup. One, Colorado's not that great. They're actually really bad outside of Coors. Number two, due to the price point, and number three, due to the fact that he actually works deep into the games. I'm going to talk about some probable long relievers, but you don't have to worry about him only pitching 2 to 3 innings today. That's built into the price, though. Those long relievers are riskier, and they're priced at minimums. But yeah, Merrill Kelly at $7,400. There's not much good things for me to say about him because he stands out relative to the entire league as a bad pitcher. Relative to the slate, he stands out as, in my opinion, one of the 3 options that I like so far from the $7,000 range or above. I'll just go through all because there's not that many pitchers left. Ariel Jurado, not really interested against Toronto. I think Toronto is a good team. Jurado overall doesn't really stand out in any other way. I'd rather get to Merrill Kelly, who does go a lot deeper into the games. Jurado is lucky to get to the 5th inning, in my opinion. So Ariel Jurado, guy who has a 16.9% overall strikeout rate. Not great. This Toronto team against righties since the start of June. They have a 214 ISO. That is the 3rd best on the slate. They are the 3rd best power hitting team on the slate since the start of June. You want to know why? Gavon Biggio is good. Vlad Guerrero is hitting his peak. This is without Gurriel Jr. as of late. Bo Bichacek is coming up and hitting bombs. Randall Grichuk is still hitting bombs. This team overall, Freddie Galvez is still just a solid player in the lineup every single day. You have Tesker Hernandez is just hitting bombs. It's crazy how good this team is and how young they are. So I'm not getting to know Ariel Jurado. Ty Blatch, I have in right now for $6,200. By the time you're watching this, maybe he's not actually the probable long reliever, the opener. Again, no interest against the Yankees. So now we're already at $6,200. Eric Feed. I have 3 interests listed already. I didn't list Eric Feed as an interest, but realistically you can because of the nature of the slate. If you want a pitcher in the $6,000 range, or the $6,000 or $5,000 or $4,000 range, Eric Feed's maybe your best bet. The guy only goes 4 innings pitched per start, though. He has a 5.64 Sierra, which is the highest on the slate. He walks 9.8% of batters. He only strikes out 11.7% of righties. And yeah, he gets Cincinnati, who's a little bit, they're around average in terms of how much they strike out. Very similar to Colorado. 178 ISO on the year since the start of June against righties. That's pretty much league average. And a 27.2% strikeout rate. That's a little lower than league average, but pretty much league average. So Eric Feed is what I would consider a guy who's in the very similar matchup to Merrill Kelly, except in my opinion, one, he has a much worse strikeout rate, which is really hard to do when Merrill Kelly only has an 18.5% strikeout rate, but Feed is only at 12.6, so the lowest on the slate. That's disgusting if you really want to get there, and he has the highest Sierra. So yeah, he's a big ground ball pitcher, best on the slate if you take out all these openers and long relievers. He only gives up 27.5% fly ball rate, but I think overall you're getting much more depth, definitely more depth from Merrill Kelly, a guy who probably goes 6 innings today, where you're just hoping for Feed to even get you into the 4th or 5th. So I don't have interest in Feed. I understand that he's cheap and people get to him. No strikeout stuff or Sierra. Doesn't go deep into games. I don't see the upside. Peter Lambert against Arizona, I'd rather not. Man's also terrible, 16.4% strikeout rate overall, 15.3 against righties. Gives up a ton of power to lefties and a ton to righties. 286 ISO to lefties, 244 to righties. And you're going to get both sides of the plate that have power in this lineup. You're going to get 4 lefties, a couple switch hitters in there with Marte. You're going to get 3 to 4 righties. So I'm not going to any Peter Lambert today, a guy who I think is just absolutely atrocious against a team in Arizona that doesn't strike out, has power, and Lambert gives up power and doesn't strike them out. So yeah, dangerous disaster. Now we get into all these openers. Diego Castillo, Chad Green, and Neil Ramirez. They're all openers. You're not playing any of them. No shot. The last two guys on the slate for me right now, at least when I shoot this, is Brock Stewart and Austin Pruitt. So right now, the only interest I have are Zach Greinke. Joey Lucchesi is like he's in obviously a good spot against Tampa Bay relative to other people on the slate. He strikes guys out. He's a good pitcher, so I have to list him on the slate. That's garbage. Number 3 is Merrill Kelly. And then number 4 and kind of number 5 is going to be Brock Stewart and Austin Pruitt. These guys are dirt cheap. They're both the minimum price point. And I think based on the nature of the slate, even though they're at both $4,000 each, they both have good matchups. Pruitt's going to be going up against the Padres at $4,000, and they strike out 25.5% of the time versus righties since the start of June. That is the third highest on the slate, only behind Texas, only behind the White Sox. So you get a guy who has strikeout matchup here. You get a guy who has, he's only been pitching as a probable long reliever here and there. His last start, he only came in for, I believe, 2 innings. Wasn't really a probable long relief effort. Start before that, he had 5 innings. Start before that, they let him throw 90 pitches, 85 pitches. So it seems like Pruitt's the guy who's kind of stretched out for probable long relief efforts. And he gets 57.4% ground balls. That's really elite. That number is really high. 22.1% fly balls. That number is really high. So you got a team in San Diego who actually does have power against righties, a 191 ISO. But I do like the fact that Pruitt's $4,000. I do like the fact that in probable long relief efforts, 2 out of his last 3 times he's come in as a probable long reliever, he's thrown 85 plus pitches and gone at least 5 innings. That's pretty good. So I like the fact that he's $4,000 and there's actual upside. At $4,000, you want 10 fantasy points from him. 10. I'm not even sure you can get 10 fantasy points out of Zach Plesac today and Mitch Keller, who are over double his price, like 2.5 times this guy's price. So yeah, I have a lot of interest in Austin Pruitt at $4,000 flat as a probable long reliever today. I think that as a minimum, he goes 3 innings, and even in 3 innings, he's in line for the win if his team's winning at that point. So that's always great as a probable long reliever. He limits damage, and in 3 innings, I think this guy can get me 8 fantasy points, and I really wouldn't feel terrible about that at $4,000 either, which is crazy to say. Obviously, I want the 5-inning start where he goes for 15 to 20 fantasy points, but if he gets me 8 as a bottom number, I really honestly think that pairing that with a Zach Greinke or Joey Lucchesi could win a slate today based on the fact that everybody else sucks and everybody else is overpriced. Pretty much the exact same analysis for Brock Stewart. He made his first probable long relief effort the last time he pitched for Toronto. They acquired him on July 31st. And then he made a start, I think like 2 or 3 days later. He went 4 innings. He got 16 fantasy points. He looked good. Now he gets Texas, who strikes out the most on the slate against righties since the start of June, 27.1% of the time. They have a .64 ISO, which is the second lowest on the slate. So they're the second worst power hitting team on the slate since the start of the summer against righties, and the worst strikeout team. So Brock Stewart's definitely in play for me. He is very similar to Austin Pruitt. It's which one do you like more at that point? I think Austin Pruitt, Brock Stewart only threw around 60 pitches his first time out there as a probable long reliever. So is that his cap? Because that's worrisome, where we see Austin Pruitt has this cap to go an extra inning to 2 innings with 85 pitches, 90 pitches. We saw him throw 2 times ago when he was out there. So Pruitt hasn't pitched in the majors though since, he pitched last week, but he only came in for a 2-inning effort. And then he pitched beginning of July is when he pitched last time 5 innings. So that's a little bit worrisome. So right now, my biggest thing on today is to break into Brock Stewart and Austin Pruitt more. Make sure that, one, they're both starting when I get more news a couple hours from now. Or right now I have the idea that they're both going to be the primary pitchers. So that means probably a long reliever for fantasy. So yeah, that's the biggest thing on this slate for me, in my opinion. Who do you like more, Brock Stewart or Austin Pruitt? If you're a mass multi-entry, get pieces of both of them. They both have great matchups. I think Brock Stewart has a better matchup, but I also think he does not have as much depth into the game as Pruitt. So it's a matter of weighing our options. I'll cover that on the podcast and more later today. So just recapping, Zach Greinke, Joey Lucchesi, Merrill Kelly, Brock Stewart, and Austin Pruitt are my 5 pitchers that I'm interested in today. It's a disgusting slate. Follow me on Twitter at FantasyDraft. Check out the NFL DFS course. It's linked down below. You can check out everything that's in it for free to check it out on the main page. It tells you all the stuff that's in the agenda. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, check out down below on Patreon. You can get my NFL package, my MLB, my WNBA, whichever ones you want. All 3 if you want. There's an option for all 3 of them. Check them out. I'll have my article or podcast, probably podcast, out around 5 to 5:30 tonight. Maybe even earlier. Appreciate it. Subscribe before you leave. We're about to crush through 6,100 subscribers now. Hit me up on Twitter. Follow me there if you have any questions as well. My name is Sal. You already know that. Peace out, gang.